On today's Kapowcast, we're going to look at Marvel's animated feature, Ultimate Avengers. All right, welcome back to Kapowcast. I am joined once again by my partners in crime, Mr. Tony Vance.
Hello!
Jeff from Flask Action Hero Podcast.
Hey, guys.
And taking a more promotional route today is Cody. He's just kind of been taking pictures. He's not really going to...
Sorry.
Steamboat.
Sorry.
Maybe you should set that on the...
Yeah, maybe.
On the back, and maybe we'll...
I didn't think anybody was going to
Put the dildo away, Tony. Jesus Christ.
So unpopular. Fucking...
All right. So, yeah, today we're going to talk about Ultimate Avengers. It was an animated feature done in, about 2006, I think. But before we jump into that, unfortunately, we all lead other lives outside of this. So it's a lot harder.
I don't.
It's a lot harder for us to get together on a weekly basis. So a lot of times we'll do shows in bulk, like we did the first 4 in one night. We've done a couple others in one sitting. So some news may come through that we don't get to discuss as it happens. One of those things being that I really wanted to talk about was the reveal of the teams for Captain America Civil War that came out a few weeks ago, I think it
I
was.
thought it was last week.
Maybe 2 weeks ago?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Time is irrelevant.
What is time but irrelevant? So I know we talked about this a little bit beforehand, how the teams seem like they might be a little...
Lopsided?
Yeah.
Power-wise?
Power-wise, yes. We'll start off with Iron Man's team. We have Iron Man, Black Widow, Black Panther, Vision, and War Machine.
Yeah, a lot of heavy hitters and Black Widow.
Well, looking at it, I would say do you think the reason you're looking at it and be like, those are heavy hitters is because they have Vision, who basically has...
Oh, there's Vision and Iron Man and War Machine.
Yeah. True.
War Machine and Iron Man took out a whole army of drones by themselves.
And I mean, are we going to get the Black Panther whose suit can turn invisible and...
I hope so. I like that angle.
Yeah, they haven't really revealed. It's funny that he's not on Cap's team because they have a long history of being friends in the comics.
Well, I thought about it because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, that doesn't make sense. Why is Black Panther on Iron Man's team?" A lot of the events in Age of Ultron happened in Africa and Wakanda, so I think, especially the Hulk fight and all that, I think was that in Africa?
Yeah, that was in Africa, I think.
Was it? Okay.
Well, yeah, but it was Iron Man that blew up everything.
Yeah, that's that's true. And then on the other side, on Cap's team, we have Captain America, Sharon Carter, Agent 13, Hawkeye, Winter Soldier, Ant-Man, and Falcon.
Yeah, Falcon's the only one who can fly on that team.
And if you notice, looking at it, it's all, I mean, aside from their Captain America and Winter Soldier, maybe, they're pretty much all just regular humans.
Mm-hmm.
Don't underestimate Hawkeye.
He's really good with a bow and arrow.
That's what I've heard.
I don't know why you guys have to fucking hate on him so much.
Because it's fun.
Just watch out when he runs out of arrows.
Yep.
Hey.
That is the only character in a movie ever to actually run out of arrows at some point.
They really, they yanked down the reality. They're like,
Yep.
Conspicuous, though, by their absence, no Scarlet Witch and no Spider-Man. Obviously, Spider-Man, they're going to be probably holding off till it gets a little bit closer to the release.
They want that big reveal.
Yeah. The no Scarlet Witch is kind of intriguing to me.
Yeah.
I know I've heard discussion and rumors of whatnot and I think it's just where you would go with a story like this, that more than likely there's going to be a double agent on one of, if not both, the teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's pretty, it would be a pretty obvious thing. I don't think it's going to be Black Widow. I think that's the obvious choice. Like, maybe Scarlet Witch is one of those ones that's on one team and then flips over to another. Maybe she starts off on Cap's team, but for whatever reason goes over to Tony Stark's team, which that would be really weird considering she didn't really like Tony Stark in Age of Ultron.
I don't really know who would be the double agent. Like, looking at it, because like you said, they don't want to take the obvious aspect because then you're just going to guess it. I mean, even Hawkeye going in on Tony's team halfway through, it would be like, oh, come on. You're going to send the spy to do the spy?
I think it's going to be
Spy
Captain
versus
America.
spy. You know what?
Tony, I've thought about this.
You were right the whole time, all right?
And,
That'd be
my
the best
1940s ways, they get the best of me sometimes.
You actually just pretty much described the end of the Civil War comics.
Yeah, I
And
hated
pretty much how they ended.
I hated.
Well, you didn't have to point it out for all the people that don't know that.
If they haven't read it yet, I assume there's no sense of urgency that they want to get out and read it.
So it's their fault.
Yes, exactly. It's not mine. It's your fault for being lazy.
Read a book, damn it.
Read a book, stupid. So do you guys like these teams? Do you think
It's interesting. I mean, like, I don't have a problem with them. I did think it was odd, but I guess it makes sense. And in the comic itself, most of the heavy hitters were on Tony Stark's team.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you? I mean, and that was another big thing in this comic books was Spider-Man. He switched sides. I don't know if we're going to see that in this because I don't know if they'll have a chance to really develop that.
Dynamic?
Thank you. That dynamic that he had in the comic books, I don't know if we're really going to be able to see that with him. I know originally I was under the impression when they first announced Black Panther being included that I was under the impression that was going to be Black Panther's role. That he was going to be the one they were kind of, fighting over. He was undecided.
But they might still do that.
They might still do that, yeah. Time will tell.
You look very stern and serious.
Yes, I am. I'm very stern and serious when it comes to my comic book characters. The most weird, the pretty odd thing is that they have Agent 13 on Captain America's team, who I feel like, I mean, what is she going to do?
Well, I mean, I could tell you something that she contributes, but I don't know if I should.
We've already talked about how spoilers don't matter here. If you haven't read it yet,
I'll leave the...
Get off your ass, go do it, and we are going to pussyfoot around spoilers because we assume that you just don't care if you haven't gotten to it yet. Oh, that was a little pretentious, wasn't it?
A little bit.
It sounds like somebody definitely peed in your Wheaties this morning.
I don't eat Wheaties. I eat Cheerios. I don't know. I see her being as more maybe like a technical support. IT maybe. IT. Maybe the equivalent of maybe Mariah Hill will probably be on Iron Man's.
Yeah, she was a big S.H.I.E.L.D. agent on Tony Stark's side in the comic. She was a kind of a bitch in the comic, if I recall.
Yeah, I was going to say she was a real...
She was a real see you next Tuesday. Hey, there you go.
I said it. I took the leap. I took the leap and I said it.
Took the cunt leap.
Well, there's no boundaries left for us.
No. Once you say cunt...
Yeah, it's over.
You're done. But we're okay. I mean, overseas,
Yeah, they throw that around like candy over there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
So stop being so offended.
Stop being offended and stop not reading comics. All right. Well, time will tell what happens there. We got a few months before that comes out. When it comes out, I think May.
Did they reveal what the big event happened that caused everyone to take sides?
It's all this stuff from Age of Ultron because they touch on that in Ant-Man too about how, they really fucked up the place.
A little bit. Guys, Africa is in an awful state, and it's all because of you.
No. Whoops. We'll edit that out later. Or probably not, because I don't have the patience for it.
There you go.
I can't figure out how to do it.
They're really taking though the logical step in a world with superheroes. There would be some sort of Patriot Act, type deal going. Anyways, good talk. All right, see you guys next time. All right, well, no, let's shift gears here. We just all sat down and watched Ultimate Avengers as an animated feature put out by Lionsgate and Marvel back in 2006. This was right before all the DC animation, so at the time...
Yeah, I remember
we were
loving this
really...
movie.
I remember you and Mikey like raving about it, and you brought it over to the house that I used to live in, and it was I remember it being really good.
Yeah, I remember I had such fond memories of that film.
And then we watched it today, and
oh my god,
you looked bored to death.
Yeah, I was.
Tony was on his phone most of the time.
Everybody was talking throughout the entire thing. Like I couldn't pay attention.
It was
a lot of build up in that movie.
Yeah, like an hour's worth of build up.
I think it's what was it, like 40 minutes before we actually see the Avengers.
Yeah, and
this is a 76-minute long film.
Very short movie.
Really awkward shading.
Yeah, the animation, like, it didn't look bad, but the coloring and the shading was really bizarre looking.
It starts off promising. We start off in 1945 with Cap, fighting the Nazis, and the Nazis are working with the Chitauri aliens, because anytime a giant group of superheroes gets together, there has to be aliens involved.
Yep.
I think it's the unwritten rule in comic books. So it starts off really promising, but then it just kind of drags. It goes through trying to introduce every character one by one.
And all of them are really two-dimensional.
Very unsympathetic characters.
There's no connection to them at all.
No, you don't. Aside from really Captain America, maybe Iron Man, you really don't like any of them.
Yeah, they're not very likable. They're all like really arrogant. They're all hot.
Well, Wasp isn't too terrible.
No, she was. Yeah, but she was kind of bland at the same time.
Yeah, there really wasn't much
she had
done
all
with
of,
her.
like 4 lines in the whole film, to my knowledge.
Hank Pym is just a complete
cock.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was going to say Hank Pym is a complete cock. He's not Ant-Man in this. He's actually Giant Man. Really, what it boils down to is this whole movie all builds up to the Chitauri invasion, the Avengers fighting him, which takes, like you said, about 3-4 minutes.
Yeah,
and they pretty much make quick work. And then the rest of it, suddenly they are fighting the Hulk.
Yep. Which was the best part of the movie.
It's the best part of the movie. And
where we started paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the last, 14 minutes of the film?
Yeah.
Something like that?
You see Hulk pretty much take on all the Avengers. He makes pretty quick work of Iron Man, I do believe.
Yeah. Slaps him around.
Giant Man, he proceeds to punch out his kneecap.
Oh my god, that looked really gross.
And then he also chokes him, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He jumps on his throat and he throws a rock at him, hits him in the head.
There's a sweet fight between the Hulk and Thor, Ultimate Thor. This movie is based on the Ultimates, which is, alternate universe version of the Avengers, where everyone's more of a jerk.
More lifelike.
Yeah, you could say that. Everyone's more... They definitely used the Watchmen approach, where they...
damage superheroes.
They take it through the next logical step, where these characters, how they actually have psyches and how it would affect them having these bizarre powers and whatnot.
Definitely a huge departure from what we saw in Joss Whedon's movie. Mm-hmm. And I remember actually when they were making that movie, I remember thinking to myself, wow, if they just take what they did in Ultimate Avengers and apply a lot of that to the live action movie, it'll be great. But I'm glad they didn't do that, because it actually would have been
boring.
Really bad and really boring. And
it would have been like a lot of pre-comic book movies. Tons of build up for a 5-minute action sequence.
Like the Fantastic Four movie.
I'm assuming.
Which I was the only one of the three of us that was brave enough to...
He took the leap.
Took the leap and see that. Maybe one day we'll discuss that in full when we've all seen it, because you guys are going to see it.
Of course.
Yeah. You got to take the time. You got to take the time to commit to this, and you got to... That's what I did. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a bullet, I'm going to commit to this show, and I'm going to see a really terrible movie.
We should review the 1996 really cheaply made Fantastic Four
Where they
movie?
just kind of made it just to get a movie out.
Yeah, the one that like never got released in theaters.
Absolutely. But yeah, the Ultimate Avengers, it just kind of leads to the fight with the Hulk, which you get to see Cap go toe-to-toe with Hulk.
Yeah, which was really cool.
And something I would like to see in the movies. But other than that, I mean, what happened? Why do you think, back in 2006 we sat and watched it and we thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then now we sit and watch it and we're like, this is, I mean, aside from the fact that we're all almost, in our 30s.
Almost.
Well, I am 30.
I'm 30.
Tony's the only one here.
I'm the youngest one here.
On the cusp.
It's horrible, by the way. Don't ever turn 30.
Yeah.
Well, 30 is when I'm actually going to go and, admit that I need, seeing glasses. So that's already
Don't
something
do it.
not to
Seeing
look forward to.
glasses.
The best kind of glasses. Them vision glasses.
I need them seeing glasses. So what do you think happened? I mean, you, Jeff, you loved it so much.
Yeah,
originally.
I don't I think maybe I'm just spoiled now because there's all the, like you said, all the DC animated features that have come out. I think maybe it's just the fact that I had waited so long to see Captain America in a halfway decent animated feature that really, I don't know, I think I was just really happy with the little amount I got. Like, here's your shit sandwich, chew on it. And I was like, oh, thank you.
I love that analogy. I think too. I mean, there hadn't been a lot of, because DC hadn't even started. They would later follow up. I think the following year with Superman Doomsday with their animated feature, but there hadn't been a adult comic book feature like that, like aimed at people our age. That wasn't meant for kids. That was more violent, more gritty. I hate to use the
Grim
Batman
and gritty,
term.
yeah.
Grim and that's exactly what it was. I mean, Ultimate Avengers is grim and gritty. It's violent. So I think it was one of those things. Like, it was just, at the time, it was the greatest thing. But then we got this golden age of the DC animated films that just consistently put out a good one after good after good, unless you count Gods and Monsters. That wasn't very good. But for the most part, they have all been enjoyable. And they have pushed the envelope, too, as far as violence, language, pushing that PG-13 rating. Like, even going back and watching, Ultimate Avengers, it kind of almost feels like, this is kind of kiddie-esque in a way,
I think another reason I loved it so much was because it was based on the Ultimates, which, I love. Love that comic. Ultimates 1 and 2, some of my favorite comics. And, just to see that adapted at all. I mean, it's funny to see how much of that, the Ultimate Universe, they used for the cinematic universe. Lots of, because, it had more plot exposition put out more quickly, so it had something that adapted well to a cinematic universe where they're trying to get these character stories out right away.
And there's the one scene in the Ultimate Avengers where Cap first wakes up at S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, and it's not a direct example or interpretation of what happened in First Avenger, but it is very similar of him waking up. You see the soldiers fly out the wall. He breaks the wall down and runs out, and then he jumps out the window, and then he's in New York, or in the Ultimate Avengers, he's on a S.H.I.E.L.D. base. It's very similar. I think they took the best elements they could out of the Ultimates. Like you said, Tony, they took a lot of the design work and a lot of the groundwork of the Ultimates, but they really emphasized on a lot of the Golden Age characteristics. Like Captain America in the movies is much more Golden Age Cap than he is Ultimate Cap. He's not doing the, this is an A on my helmet. You think it stands for France?
That line was very controversial, but, I always thought it was hilarious.
Oh, I like my freedom fries.
Hell yeah. Yeah, he was definitely, in the comics, he was very right-wing, and he was very my way or the highway, very...
Donald Trump.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, like, he solved problems with his fists a lot more than the
he was a hothead.
Yeah, he was definitely a hothead. Very military-minded, finding military solutions to every problem.
What does that sound?
Oh my god. The robots.
Never mind that. We're in my basement. I think one of the things that I love, especially about the cinematic Captain America, is they've really found that perfect balance of he's a Boy Scout, but he's also a complete badass, and he's not afraid to go against those people in charge. You know,
I think what you're looking for is what they've made him into the cinematic one is he's a true leader. Like, he's not just some cockamamie guy dressed in red, white, and blue. Like he's an actual leader.
Yeah, and I mean he was pretty tame in the Ultimate Avengers movie as opposed to the Ultimate Avenger comic books. He wasn't quite as controversial.
No, he drew a lot of hate in the comics. I'm like, well, it's a reinterpretation of the character. If you were exactly like his regular universe counterpart, then what would be the point in making it in the first place?
Exactly, because the basic idea of the Ultimate Universe was, at the time, they just had the main 616 universe, and this was basically designed where if you were a new comic book reader, you didn't have to catch up on 40, 50 years of comics or whatever. Mm-hmm. You could just jump in with the Ultimates starting off. The downside of that was a lot of the Ultimates lines took really strange creative directions that not a lot of people like. I remember reading Ultimate Spider-Man, and it was right around the time that the Tobey Maguire movies were coming out. And I got the hardcovers, really big ones from Borders. And I would like the first two, and then when I got to Venom, when they introduced Venom and the way they handled that whole story, I was just like, done. I did not like it at all. And then I know it got even weirder. I know Carnage was another weird thing they did.
What did they do with Venom exactly?
Destroyed it.
Yeah.
Destroyed everything about it.
It was, it was, the symbiote was basically, I think it was created by Peter Parker's parents and Eddie Brock's parents, father, as like a
I've already lost interest.
Something to cure cancer. Or something like
I thought
that.
the point of the Ultimate Universe was to not make things horribly convoluted.
It was, and I think that's and honestly, I know you love the Ultimates. I never read any of the Ultimate Avenger books or anything like that. I pretty much just read Ultimate Spider-Man. I didn't delve too much into anything else. I know I hated the design work for Ultimate X-Men. I didn't like the costumes or anything like that.
I didn't care for them either. They made lots of bizarre changes too. Like stuff not even worth getting into.
No, that's for a later date. Tony, you're awfully quiet.
What? I'm sorry.
Tony, entertain us.
Were you at the house when we originally watched Ultimate Avengers, or did you eventually go and watch that
I watched it by myself.
By yourself?
Because you guys were too cool for me at the time, I guess.
That's true.
Yes, it was. Too cool for school.
But no, I watched it off on my own. Because you guys would rant and rave about it, and then I watched it, and I don't know if you guys just brainwashed me with your words. Or I was looking for acceptance or something. But I was like, it was a really good movie.
I don't I still remember it fondly.
I think maybe it's just the factor that we were spoiled.
Yeah.
We have so much now that looking back on it, it's just kind of this is it. An hour of setup that wasn't really even set up.
Yeah, then the aliens. Yeah. They end up fighting the Hulk. I think one of the big problems is that they tried to compress two different storylines in the comics into a short movie, and it just did not work at all. And a lot of things were lost in translation because there's a lot of more adult aspects to the characters, like Hank Pym beating his wife without mercy. It is ridiculous in the Ultimates how much he slapped around his wife.
Mercy?
Yeah. He literally hospitalizes her at one point.
That's really saying a lot about Marvel's track record that before today, we probably all thought of Ultimate Avengers as the pinnacle of Marvel's animated films. Mm-hmm. So if we're watching it now and we're looking at it like that, my God, I personally, I haven't watched a lot of the other Marvel animated features just because they haven't grabbed me and all. There's Ultimate Avengers 2, which wasn't as good as Ultimate Avengers, so it's probably even more terrible now. There was a Doctor Strange one. There was
Hulk versus I really
Hulk
enjoyed.
versus
Hulk versus Wolverine.
Hulk versus Wolverine was really good, and mainly because of Deadpool in it. That was
Yeah, well, the action in it was it had good animation. I remember liking the animation a lot. It was kind of Bruce Timm-esque, like everyone.
It was very
more
blocky, yeah. Which that works.
Yeah, it worked
like for
really
some
well.
reason that animation just works. What other? I mean, they've released a couple other ones in the past few years. Like they're like they've done some computer animated ones. There's like an Iron Man Hulk one.
Really?
And they look really
That
shoddy.
one's real cheesy.
Is it?
Yeah, it's super cheesy. I watched it and it was just like, it's definitely aimed for the kids.
Meh.
Nah. The lesson here is Marvel animation bad, DC animation good.
Definitely. You were better off just not watching this film, putting in Labyrinth instead.
Shit, I had a Labyrinth reference all lined up for this one. And
we'll save it for the next one.
Well, I'll probably sleep tonight. Fine. I kind of feel bad, like owning this movie now. Like I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ever actually going to sit down and watch it again.
Yeah. Well, we can watch the last 15 minutes of it.
Right, you just fast
Yeah, but I
forward.
could just probably pull that up on YouTube. And
This is true. Oh, another moment in the movie that was pretty crazy. The Hulk actually ends up picking up Thor's hammer.
oh yes, he
Slaps him
does.
with it. I don't think that ever happened in the
Didn't
Ultimates.
well, because Thor's hammer in this, one side is a hammer and the other side's an axe.
Yeah.
And I believe his intent was he was going to decapitate Thor with it, because I believe, didn't he have Thor up by his hair and he had the axe end?
No,
and,
I think he just threw it at him. You might have fallen asleep while you were watching the movie.
with my eyes open.
Yeah.
I might be thinking of something else. Maybe a story I wrote in my
Fan
head.
fiction?
Perhaps. Yeah.
Some erotic fan fiction that you were doodling around with.
Second time on this show we've talked about erotic fan fiction.
We'll have to dedicate an episode.
No.
I'll show
we
you
don't.
some. There's some really good stories. The storytelling in this one that I wrote. It's fantastic.
It's about a unicorn, a goat, and ducks.
Optimus Prime.
And Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that one time.
Looks like your pitch worked.
You see, I lost him and then I hit him. Sold him on it.
Once you brought in Hulk Hogan, I was dead sold. So I don't think I will be showing this movie to anybody. I don't think I'll be showing it to the girlfriend. I think I'm just gonna tuck it away and maybe with my Count Duckula box set. And,
You have a Count Duckula box set.
not a box set. I have, I think, the first season.
How is it? I haven't watched it since I was 4 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. I bought it from Sam Goody.
I found out later that was a... That show was actually a Danger Mouse spinoff. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. We'll do a Count Duckula podcast sometime.
Thanks.
If you don't know who Count Duckula is,
Then you are under the age of 30.
yeah, and you should probably just look it up, because I don't feel like explaining it. Who's got time for that? So, now that we've rewatched it, let's give this film our CGC rating. As we know, CGC goes from a scale of 1 to 10. You do like 1.8, 6.9, stuff like that. What would you give this little gem, Tony?
2.5.
Yeah.
For sure.
You really knew what you were... you, like, had that right on retainer.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Oh,
good.
it was teetering between 2.5 and 3, and I was like, you're not worthy of a 3. And I just dropped it to 2.5.
Couldn't lift the hammer.
What
to
about...
level 3.
But the elevator's worthy.
What about you, Mr. Jeff?
I guess I give it a 5. Like, I wouldn't say it was an unwatchable movie. It was just really dull and dragged on up until the last 15 minutes.
For some reason, I just completely tuned out. What did you give it?
I said I gave it a 10. No, give it a 5.
Gave it a 5? Okay.
Mainly for the last 15 minutes of the film.
God, that last 15 minutes must have really saved it for you then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's probably nostalgia that's keeping the rating that high.
Oh, that fucking nostalgia.
Yep.
Keeps you
Somehow-
from being honest with yourself.
Somehow nostalgia got involved.
It's called denial.
I had it with the Green Lantern movie. I would say I'll go with a solid 2.
A solid 2 all over my chest is what this movie has done.
Number 2. It's just it didn't pull me in. It didn't grip me. And going back and watching it, that's I think the worst thing any kind of movie can do is you like it at the time, but a few years later you go and watch it and you realize it's bad. That's like the worst thing a movie can do. It doesn't have a lasting replay value.
Felt like it betrayed us.
It did.
I'm starting to think that that's a different movie that we watched.
It was
This is some sort of conspiracy where we watched the movie, enjoyed it, then someone swapped it out and didn't tell anyone.
It was it was actually my own personal animation that I did.
I knew it.
That's why the shading looked like shit. Oh man, so don't watch it.
Yeah, don't watch it. I mean, if you're
But
really if you're like some sort of animation completionist or like a huge diehard Marvel fanboy, I'm not gonna say the film's unwatchable, but it's not worth your time.
I mean, maybe if you haven't watched a lot of the DC stuff and haven't been
exposed to
spoiled by it, maybe you could still enjoy it.
Like, if you see it for like $5 at Walmart or something, then I won't say you're just wasting your fucking money, but
I think I'd say that.
like
That $5 bin is big.
that's true. You could get Howard the Duck. You could get Labyrinth.
You could get Labyrinth.
That's right.
I went there and I was actually looking for Spider-Man 2 on Blu-ray
Yeah, you better.
to get, and that movie is incredibly hard to find on Blu-ray. I cannot find it.
It's the most popular one, isn't it?
I believe
Yeah,
that
probably.
they're trying to narrow it down to where it's just the trilogy Blu-ray. You have to buy the whole trilogy to get it.
I would also like to clarify something that was stated in previous episode about Spider-Man 2. I'd like to go back on record and say that I was wrong. Jeff does not hate all the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. He actually does like the first one.
Yep. Enjoyed that one immensely.
So
Had Randy Savage in it.
Bonesaw's ready. Got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime.
If you could see the hand motions we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, he held up his finger for the 3 minutes, like he covered his index finger instead of the regular way of covering your pinky.
You can't do a Macho Man impression without doing.
You gotta do the mediocre jazz hands.
He needed his own spin-off film, a Bonesaw movie. I would have watched the shit out of that.
About the rise and fall of Bonesaw.
Oh, if only.
That would be a perfect world that I want to dream about.
Maybe they could make an animated one and just cobble together lines from Randy
As long as it's
Savage's
better
career.
as long as it's better than Ultimate Avengers, we're
Yeah.
A-okay on that.
So yeah, Bonesaw gets 2 thumbs up. This movie, 2 thumbs down.
Bonesaw for the 5 minutes he was in Spider-Man.
What are you doing up there?
Doesn't he make some sort
Staying
of comment
away from you.
about that's cute? Did your husband make that
Yeah.
outfit
Yeah.
for you?
Homophobic remarks coming from Spider-Man. Not cool.
That's how I like my Spider-Man. Not a fan of the gays.
God damn it, I'm leaving.
Just kidding. I have no problem with the homosexual community. They're a fine, loving bunch. I wish them all the best. Gosh, we really veered off a cliff on that one.
I don't really know where to go with this.
You
point.
just you took in Thelma Louise right off.
We all held hands, fell off the cliff together. Fell off the big gay cliff.
And this is where fucking Cody would come in with the Tony Awards.
Yeah. Oh, that wasn't really a musical, was it?
Does it matter? I've mentioned many other female films, and it still gets me no credit.
I think it qualifies.
Okay, whatever. All right.
The judges have spoke.
All right, so I think that about wraps it up for...
Yep, and then some.
And then some. Yep. It just would not be a Kapowcast if we didn't completely go off topic.
Bring up the gay community at large.
So I think we're going to tie this up with a bow. Send it on its way out to the world. Like, be good, little podcast.
Don't get into trouble.
Don't hurt nobody.
Don't do drugs.
Until
Or do.
We're not here to judge.
Until next week, I am Mike.
I'm Tony.
I'm Jeff.
We will see you next week on Kapowcast.
Bye.